My car is going through brake pads at an alarming rate. Maybe it means I need a new caliper, maybe it needs new back brakes, and I'm putting too much pressure on the front brakes. I don't have time to diagnose the problem right now, so what I'm going to do is what we call a pad slap, replacing the front brake pads. Now the first thing I have to do is take the caliper off with these 12mm bolts, and I'm using this little gear wrench. You might ask why I'm not using a socket. Because I want to put as little torque on these bolts as possible. Fuck. It ain't coming off. Well, maybe I'll have to readjust. Hit it from this side. There you go. See, sometimes it's hard to get these bolts started, but I don't want to put too much torque on them, installing or removing. Well, that one's a bear. And why are they in there so tight? If I installed them with this in the first place, maybe heat, something like that. So, what's happening is, this bolt fits into the slide. See, the bolt's all crusty. It had Loctite on it originally. I don't know if that came from the factory or if somebody put that on. So, now I'm going to try and get this caliper off by hand. But that didn't work, so we'll use a little pry bar, pop it off. See, at this point, the brake pads are so worn, everything's kind of stuck together. I should probably really diagnose this because it's only been a few thousand miles since I replaced these. Maybe 10,000. These are cheap-ass brake pads, so that could be a problem too. The whole thing's really dirty, which I suppose I should clean. Alright, so here we have the caliper off, and see everything in there, really, really filthy. A lot of brake dust. You see that? You see that filthy thing? Now the first thing I'm going to do is back off the caliper. With a C-clamp, you take this C-clamp and you put it in here, and then you use that to back off the piston in the caliper, because otherwise your new, thick, unworn brake pads just won't fit. So this piston is moving pretty easily. But you know, this car is, what is it? Going on 13 years old. In fact, it might be 14 years old now. And these may be the original calipers. I don't know. Supposedly the guy who owned the car before me was a mechanic and he maintained it and yada yada yada, but who knows? But I just don't feel like dealing with calipers. They're a pain in the ass. So I'm going to hang this here. And people will tell you that you shouldn't just hang the caliper from the brake hose, and they're right, but whatever. Now here are the new brake pads. You can see they're metallic because they have rust on them. You can see my shadow. Oh look, there's me. Stupid. And I want to try and get these in the right spot because there's a little wear tab, and when you hear grinding, you hear it from this first, and then you hear it from this. Look at that. That is a mess. That's all the way down to metal. Now, I'm feeling the back of the caliper, and to be honest, that caliper is shot. It really is. But today is not caliper. I'm sorry, rotor. This is the rotor. Rotor, R-O-T-O-R. It's a palindrome. This rotor is shot. This is a cheap rotor I got on eBay. You pay $50 for pads and rotors shipped to your door. And the problem with that is it's just pretty much cheap junk. And since the pads are so worn out, the rotor's kind of scored too. But it'll do for now. I'll replace these before the season starts, the real busy driving season. So I'm just going to slide the brake pad into the bracket. This is a caliper bracket, they call that. And then I'm going to slide this other brake pad on here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this disc brake quiet. See, when your brakes squeal, it's not because they're grinding necessarily. It's because they vibrate at a real high frequency. So, this stuff is kind of like, it's almost like a silicone, and what it does is it prevents that high frequency vibration. It doesn't always work, and it's really messy. I wish there was a better way to do this. I mean, some brake pads come with like shims and different things to prevent the vibration, but I usually use this stuff. And I've probably put on a little too much, but that's no big deal. So now, what's next? I'm going to take these things out. They're called slides, caliper slides. And I'm going to put a little bit, I'm going to clean off the old schmutz. Am I getting this shot right? Is it in focus? I just got this camera on a tripod. Clean that as well as I can because I didn't bring a rag out. And then I'm going to get this stuff, brake lubricant, because we can lubricate it. I'm going to put that on there and see what happens when you press the brake pedal. The caliper basically slides back and forth on these things, which are called slides. Well, look at those threads, they're all cruddy. So you want to lubricate the slides so that the caliper doesn't stick, because if the caliper doesn't stick, then one brake pad will wear down prematurely. So I'm going to lubricate the other one. Now this kind of work, what you really want to do first is set up a drain pan underneath the brake and spray everything with brake cleaner. Use the drain pan to catch the debris and brake cleaner and dust. Otherwise, your hands are going to get really filthy like mine. And I have this, wow, this is a receipt from the dump, and I guess I'm using it appropriately. So now I can just put my caliper back over these pads, and since I move the piston back, the caliper will fit really easily. Put these bolts in here, and you can see as I turn this bolt, the slide kind of rotates, and you got to make sure that the bolt is snug up against the slide, because that's where it, that's where it connects. And the reason it's rotating is because everything's like so crusty. So you got to figure out a way to hold the slide still until the bolt catches, and then I'm sure there's a flat spot on the slide that I could put a wrench on there if I have to, which I may have to. Yeah, what size is that? Maybe I'll use a little adjustable wrench if I can find one. For some reason. Alright, 17 millimeter maybe, you think? Did we get lucky? Okay. See, once you get it caught, once it starts to catch, then the friction between the slide and the caliper will provide what you need. But I just put this little wrench on here for now, and I don't even think it's the right size, but it just had just enough grab. Okay, that's not the right size. Let's try 15. 5/8? Nope, that's not gonna work. How about this old bicycle wrench? There you go. This is an old wrench from a Raleigh bicycle, from some Japanese 3-speed or something. So I'm just using that to keep the slide from spinning as I tighten the bolt. And I think a better way to do that would have been to clean the threads inside everything first. Now, I'm going to torque this tight, but I don't want to damage the bolt or anything, so I don't want to use an impact gun. I don't want to use a big socket or anything. I'm just going to torque it nice and tight, and then that's pretty much all you need to do. Don't know the exact torque specification. Don't want it too tight. You absolutely don't want to break that, because then you're going to have to go find a new caliper slide. And I'm going to guess the auto parts store probably sells caliper slides, but so there you go. Now, is that tight enough? Your brakes are a pretty important part of the car, so you want to make sure it's tight. I'm sure that's not going to go anywhere. And that's pretty much as tight as that's going to get. So, there you go. Brake pads are installed. You got the slides that are lubricated. The anti-squeal is on the pads. Now, the number one thing that you have to do before you drive your car, pump up the brake pedal. Because this piston is further back than it was before, because I pushed it back to fit the new pads in. So the first time you hit the brake pedal, this piston is going to have, you know, maybe a quarter of an inch or half an inch to travel. And if you don't pump up the brake pedal before you drive the car, you're going to hit the brake pedal and you're going to ram into a tree. So get in the car, start the engine, pump the brake pedal 5, 6, 10 times until you feel a real solid pedal. And then that's that. So that's how to replace brake pads. It's a really easy job. And you can do this yourself, or you can pay your friendly local mechanic to do it, and obviously he's going to charge you some money because it's, you know, it's dirty work, it's a skill, it's a trade, so it's a fair trade-off. But if you don't have the money to pay, or if you like doing projects like this yourself, then go ahead and do it. Took me just a few minutes, and it's really easy. Now I'm going to put the wheel back on, but I'll spare you that process. Thanks for watching.